Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're watching this webinar. My name is William Johnson. I've been teaching in early childhood for roughly 5 years, and I will be your instructor for this course. This webinar was designed to support teachers and help instruct them on the 5 components of linguistics: phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. In each section, there will be strategies to support children and warning signs to help identify exceptionalities. Phonology is best defined as the study of sounds or phonemes. For example, the letter A can make the short sound ah, the long sound a, and the unvoiced Children with a mastery of phonology understand and know all 44 sounds in the English language and can blend, segment, and manipulate them into words. Phonology is the basis of all language development. Understanding phonology is critical to instructing children with exceptionalities because often children with phonological struggles or problems have speech issues. Working with the speech therapist to develop strategies to help students identify and manipulate sounds is essential to helping them through their struggles with phonology. The first strategy I came up with to help children with phonology is that children with phonology often have problems with sounds, which is why they get frustrated. Handing a child struggling with a particular phoneme a mirror helps them watch their own mouth movements as they try to replicate the sound with you. The mirror also helps children recognize and realize the mistake that their mouth placement is making so that they can adjust and make the correct sound. Another strategy to help children struggling with phonology is to play a rhyming game, either one-on-one or in a small group with a group of students struggling with a skill. Children take turns making new rhyming words by changing the beginning sound. This should be fun, so the words should be real and nonsense as long as they rhyme. Rhyming helps children practice the manipulation of phonemes by removing and changing the beginning sound. Morphology is the study of the construction and structure of individual words through smaller parts such as prefixes, suffixes, roots, and affixes. For example, the word submarine is made up of 2 morphemes, the prefix sub and the root marine. The prefix sub means under, and the root marine comes from the Latin mare for the sea. Therefore, the word means underwater, which is fitting for a machine that goes underwater. Understanding morphology is critical to instructing children with exceptionalities, because often children who struggle with morphology in early childhood often are at a higher risk for dyslexia in later grades. If a child does not understand parts of words early on, they often have a harder time breaking it apart and understanding much more complex words in 4th and 5th grade. Identifying and understanding when a child is having difficulties with morphology is vital to getting children the support that they need. Strategy 1. Start simple. If a child is struggling with morphology, begin by teaching suffixes such as s, ed, ing, and est. There's a reason why suffixes are the first to be taught. It's because they often do not change the spelling structure of the root preceding it. Children struggling with morphology should begin with suffixes so that they begin to develop the practice of breaking words apart into their parts. Another strategy helping students struggling with morphology is to make instruction multisensory. Children struggling with associated meaning have a hard time thinking outside the box, and by teaching morphemes in a multisensory way, such as using Legos, blocks, sticky notes, children are forced to think outside of the box. Children love to play with Legos, sticky notes, and blocks, and especially to make new words, this is a great way to help teach kids the roots of words and prefixes. Making learning multisensory also allows children to practice in a way that is fun and engaging. Syntax is the study of word placement and arrangement to form sentences. The English language typically follows a subject-verb-object structure when organizing a sentence. For example, in the sentence, "The boy loves school," the boy is the subject, the verb is to love, and the object that the boy loves is the school. Understanding syntax is critical to instructing children with exceptionalities, because often children who struggle with syntax in early childhood are at a higher risk for dyslexia. Dyslexia, as it's traditionally understood, mixes up the order of letters and words when children read. Struggling to read or write using syntax is typically a sign that a student has dyslexia. Identifying and understanding when a child is having difficulties with syntax is vital to getting the children the support that they need. Strategy number 1. Start small. Children struggling with syntax should start by making small, simple phrases and sentences. Writing is the perfect time to stress structure when reading and writing. And by practicing using smaller sentences, children can practice and eventually write longer and more complex phrases. Make it fun. Strategy number 2. Children struggling with syntax are often bored by the repetitive nature of reading and regurgitating sentences. Use highlighters and manipulatives, flashcards, or some other interactive element to make finding or changing the parts of a sentence fun. By making it more fun, children are able to engage and understand the material on a deeper level. Semantics is the study of the context or meaning of words in a sentence. Semantics includes, but is not limited to, the understanding and manipulating of vocabulary, such as opposites, or understanding the relationship between words, and understanding figurative language. For example, children with an understanding of semantics should be able to determine the subtext and meaning of the opposite of happy in the sentence, "The mother was anything but happy." Understanding semantics is critical to instructing children with exceptionalities because often children who struggle with semantics are at a higher risk for cognitive learning disabilities. Understanding the semantics of a sentence or phrase is complex, complicated, and requires a level of processing that some children do not possess. children who struggle with semantics need help to understand the deeper meaning behind sentences, beyond just individual words. Strategy number 1. Embed semantics into reading instruction. To help encourage and train children to think about semantics of a sentence, teachers should ask questions about new words when reading. By asking questions about new words and concepts, teachers can then probe further and ask about how things might be similar or different, thus embedding semantics into day-to-day instruction. Strategy number 2. Play a synonym game. Children struggling with semantics often have a hard time thinking of similarities and differences. Playing a synonym game helps children to creatively think of new ways to say the same thing differently. Playing a game helps children practice the semantics in a fun and engaging way. Pragmatics is the study of how we use and understand language in social settings. Pragmatics includes body language, facial expressions, gestures, etc., and how to interpret them when we interact with one another. For example, I could say that I would love to do something for you, but if I roll my eyes while saying it, or say it in a sarcastic way, I am likely not sincere when I am saying it. Understanding pragmatics is critical to instructing children with exceptionalities, because often children who struggle with pragmatics are at a higher risk for social learning disabilities. Children who cannot pick up on the subtext through visual and non-visual cues in conversation typically have low social skills and need to be explicitly taught pragmatics. Strategy number 1. Greeting students and practicing different greetings for different people is a great practice for students struggling with pragmatics. Explicitly teaching children that greetings are different for different people is important because children struggling with social cues do not necessarily understand that everyone should not receive a hug when you are greeting them. Teaching greetings allows children to practice interpreting gestures and facial expressions and being intentional with their gestures. Another great strategy to practice pragmatics is by incorporating turn and talks into general instruction. During turn and talks, children get time to practice pragmatics by interpreting and decoding facial expressions, body language, and gestures of their peers in real time as they converse about a topic. By incorporating turn and talks in general lessons, children have the opportunity to learn pragmatics with their friends in a fun and engaging way. In conclusion, each component of literacy builds on the other until children become proficient readers and orators. It is vital for each teacher to know and understand the differences between the components to best help students in their class, because struggles could be a sign of potential learning disability. I hope that you all learned much from this webinar and will take the strategies back with you and incorporate them into your own practices. Thank you for watching and listening.